You're listening to The Upland Rookie, a podcast presented by Upland Brits. Welcome to episode 23 of the Upland Rookie Podcast. I'm your host, Will Larson, and as always, this is presented by Upland Brits. Also presented by Eukanuba Premium Performance Dog Food. If you want to get everything your dog's got, then you need nutrition that holds nothing back. To help unleash your dog's maximum potential, check out the new Eukanuba Premium Performance lineup at eukanubasportingdog.com. Love me some Eukanuba. Fed my dogs that all week as we were up in Montana, North Dakota. Kept them as fresh as they could be. Also brought to you by Trinity Bretons, now offering the Trinity Upland Academy to help each Trinity Breton client attain and develop the highest level of training available with George Hickox. Trinity is committed to producing premium Epinol Bretons for the field trialer and foot hunter alike. Angels in the home and demons in the field. Trinity offers puppies, the Trinity Upland Academy, starter dogs, and stud services. Check them out and learn a whole lot more. Message Josh, email them, find them online, Trinity Bretons, Trinity Breton Academy, or Trinity Upland Academy, or their website, trinitybretons.com. Also presented by Pointer Traditions. Guys, Pointer Traditions making some badass dog collars, bird straps. My dogs got their collars a couple weeks ago, and these things are incredible. Really tough material. Bird straps, I never knew I wanted one, or never knew I needed one. These are these big game straps. Typically, they're leather, they're big. These ones are that PVC coated webbing, just fantastic. I thought they were really cool. Made for some really cool photos of Sharpies and Huns on our trip, and I got the little bit smaller size, so they're not overly big, and I'll absolutely use them for roosters as well come fall. So really quality stuff. I do have a promo code if you want to head over to pointertraditions.com. Use promo code ROOKIE15. ROOKIE15 is going to get you 15% off your order at pointertraditions.com. One more I wanted to talk about is Onyx Hunt. Onyx Hunt, I used it all week in my trip up north. Jeremy used it all week. I used it all week. We had two rocking at all times for different reasons. Checking land ownership, walk-in areas, all that. I'm lost for words. I've used it for years. And just a great system. If you don't have Onyx Hunt yet, you're going to want to get it. It makes knowing where you stand, and that's kind of their tagline. Okay, I get it. It makes knowing where you are and where you stand a lot easier. Knowing boundaries, seeing what property is what. It's a must-have for upland hunters, big game hunters. So check out Onyx Hunt. TUR20 is going to save you 20% off your subscription to Onyx Hunt. Again, season's just getting kicked off. Download it now and start exploring, playing around with the app, the web version on your computer as well. So lots of functionality, lots of tools there. I had Ben Bredigan on a couple episodes ago. Might be episode 21 or so. Go back and check that out. He explains Onyx even a little bit more. We get a little nerdy about how we organize our pins and color code and all that kind of stuff. I have started to color code some of my pins, so I'm trying to come up with a better system because I've been a little bit all over the place. It's been a little annoying. So anyways, up in Montana, and I started to get a little better at that. So anyways, guys, great episode for you today. I'm talking with my buddy Adam Freeman. I've actually known Adam online for a few years now. Him and I used to own a dog that is a sibling to one of his top dogs right now. He has a dog named Hatch, American Brittany, who is tearing it up in the field trial world right now. He's just going on a tear. He's winning all sorts of stuff. And some pretty exciting stuff coming here for Adam and Hatch. So really loved our conversation today. But I wanted to just do a quick recap on I'm back home now. I got home on Saturday from what I'm calling my dream hunt, to be honest. It was a trip of a lifetime. I had so much fun. Jeremy Lowry lives up in North Dakota there, and we just had the best time chasing wild birds. All public. Yeah, I'm trying to make sure all public land we hunt. We didn't hunt any private land. I had a lot of BMA lands up in Montana, with a walk-in land in North Dakota, and guys, it was incredible. Really blessed I was able to take that kind of a trip, that extended period of time. So just wanted to share a couple of my learnings, I guess, from the trip, a couple of things that stuck out to me, and we'll jump into today's episode. But first one I was going to say is I started to journal on this trip and kind of keep a hunt journal. I didn't record the last day yet. I need to get into my journal and record that. I'm just using the Notes app on my phone and just kind of writing some of the highlights from each day. It's a blast, guys. You got to try it. I know I talked with Cade Springsteen about this a while back, and he's very diligent about keeping a journal and stuff, and more of you are doing that. And so I think it's a great idea, just to be able to look back and remember some of these details that you might not remember 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. So that's been really fun. Keeping that. Another thing I kind of took away, I kind of was kicking myself towards the end of the trip. I should have rested my dogs probably on Tuesday or Wednesday. So I started hunting in Colorado before I headed up north. And so we hunted hard a day and a half here, really rocky terrain, kind of, started to tear up their pads maybe a little bit, just because it was so rocky. And once we got up there, we hunted hard Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And by Wednesday, I noticed Gage not slowing down, but getting there. Getting there. Wind was even a little slower. So anyways, then Wednesday night, I really noticed Gage's pads were getting pretty bad. I did hunt him on Thursday. He had a really, really good run Thursday. I'm really glad I got him out. But then I didn't hunt him Thursday night or Friday at all. So I kind of retired him for the trip. Pads were just getting pretty beat up. He had a couple little lacerations on his chest as well. So hindsight, I wish I would have rested him maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe 2 days even. It just kind of gets away from you. You get so excited when you're getting into birds and you're putting your best dogs down, and you just want to keep hunting them. And I wish I would have had them for that last day as well. Every day was great. I don't think we didn't get skunked any day. We had a couple walks that we didn't get birds. I think almost every walk we got birds up and saw birds. So that was just a takeaway. Rest your dogs. They're not machines. They are animals, and they need their rest as well. So live and you learn. Win, I did run Win Friday. Yeah, she had a great run. Man, she figured things out. Took her a couple days, I think, to really lock in the scent and kind of what she was supposed to do. But man, once she did, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, man, she had a great run. There was one field in particular where she was pointing pheasants, roosters, and hens. I mean, obviously, they're not in season yet, but it was fun just to let her work those and just to let her figure out what she's doing. That was a blast. And then we got into some Sharpies. She pointed a couple really nice Sharpies, and that one field, I think, taught her more than anything on this whole trip. I really do. And a day prior to that, actually, we drove by a BMA and found some road Sharpies, and they were on the road. So we saw where they went. We left our guns in the car, let her out. No guns, just wanted to kind of see how she worked these Sharpies. And that was incredible. Again, one of those moments where we're not out to hunt. We're just letting the dog work, letting her learn. There must have been 10 Sharpies in this little covey or flock, whatever the term is. And she'd point one, or I shouldn't say that. She busted them, but she'd only bust one at a time. And she would go off 300-400 yards chasing this Sharpie. Come on back to the same spot, find another one, chase. And that built so much drive and excitement and anticipation. She was like, oh, this is the bird I'm looking for. This is kind of, what I'm doing. So I think that instilled and impressed upon her a lot in that moment. Again, that's the game we were chasing. And so that was actually really fun just to just see her get out there and start to have things click, have things kind of, figure out. And so 7 months old, man, she'll be 8 months in a couple weeks, I think. And it was a highlight seeing a young dog get out on the big prairies of Montana and North Dakota and just do her thing, just figure things out. That was awesome. Gage for me was a standout for me. He had some great, again, there was a standout field I remember where he just went on a tear. He was pointing everything, Huns, Sharpies, and it was, Jeremy and I, we couldn't miss, I feel, that field. It was just left and right. He was retrieving birds, and it was hot out too, and so it was just a cluster in the best way possible. And again, had some really, really nice retrieves. And that's been something. His retrieve has not always been very strong. I force fetched him a couple years ago, and just to see, I wasn't telling him to go fetch. He was going to get down birds after we'd shoot them with no verbal. So to see that kind of stick and click in him was really fun as well. You might have heard this on the last episode, but first day we shot our limit of Huns, and I didn't think I hit one, and he goes tearing across the road. And I'm like, Gage, get over here. What are you doing? Get over here. And sure enough, he comes back with a Hun in his mouth. And I had no idea it was over there, but he did and made about a 70-yard retrieve. And so that was pretty freaking special. Get your dog on birds and all that good stuff. So I have nothing but good things to say about this trip. It was special for sure in so many ways. Hanging out with my buddy Jeremy it was so much fun. It was all the laughs and the memories that we made just in that one trip are going to last a lifetime. And so I encourage anyone out there who is contemplating a trip somewhere, no matter where it's at, Utah, Kansas, Nebraska, North Dakota, whatever you're thinking about doing, just do it. I swear, just make the plans, take the vacation time, make the trips, do it. Don't let drought scare you off. Don't let other things scare you off. Just freaking go. I put off Montana last year. I was like, I'm not going to go. I only had, I think, one dog at the time. I'm not going to, whatever your circumstances are, sure, it's going to be different if you have one dog versus 10 dogs. Sure, it's going to be different, but still you're going to have a blast and make memories. And so don't let those things slip by you and get away. Really make the time for it, invest. It's something you'll never forget. So I will say it was so good getting back home to the family. I'm not going to lie. I think I was gone but not 8 or 9 days total. And it's definitely good getting back to the kids and the wife and just getting back into some normalcy. Actually, I was going to jump right back into work. I was like, I'm going to take another couple days and just hang out with them and just kind of reconnect. And so it's good to do that. It's hard on them when we're gone as well. And so make sure you're making your family a priority. I'm sure I don't have to say that to a lot of you, but just make sure you're being attentive to your wife and kids or spouse, and because it's a sacrifice on their part as well when we are gone for that long. So anyways, Kirsten, if you're listening to this, thank you again for this amazing trip I was able to go on. So anyways, guys, that's all I have to say. I'm sure you'll hear a lot more of my stories and long-winded discussions on this North Dakota, Montana trip. But I'll be posting lots of photos and videos over at Upland Brits and the Upland Rookie Instagram page. So stay tuned there. Lots more photos to come. I took way more photos than I thought I was going to, but now I have to sort through them all, but it stresses me out. Anyways, guys, we're going to jump into today's episode. Last reminder, I haven't said this in a while, but please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It really, it does help the ratings of the show go higher in search rating or search results, I guess. So if someone's searching for an Upland podcast, the more ratings and reviews that this show has, the higher it'll pop up in the feed. Pretty simple. But anyways, I love hearing and reading every comment that you guys leave and feedback. I love it. So please head over to Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and review. And that's all I got. All right. Enjoy the episode with Adam Freeman.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So my dogs are scratching in the back, but so I know we've messaged over Instagram quite a bit, but we've never actually talked in person or over the phone really. So it's nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, you too. I think following you on Instagram, I feel like we've kind of we have the same path, and I think we're going to talk about that in this podcast too. But our path is relatively similar, just a few years different. With you kind of taking that path now that I took probably 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
No, I definitely will be getting into that soon. Kind of the funny part is, so I had Gage, I knew Jeff, all that. I was starting to train Gage over at his house, and then separately, you and I were already following each other on Instagram for a long time, and I never made the connection that you guys knew each other or you had the dog, out of him. And then one day, I think after you and I were talking about maybe grouse hunting, I knew your name, and then I was over at Jeff's a couple of days later, and he said something about Adam Freeman, and I was like, wait, that sounds really familiar. And so I finally put those 2 and 2 together. I'm like, does he have a dog? And so it all came together.
Yeah, it's an extremely small world. The trial community, especially in the Brittany side, and it seems like all the people know each other and one big happy family a lot of times. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Adam, why don't you go ahead and put us on a map right now? Where are you? And just give us a little overview of who you are.
Cool. So currently, as I sit right now, I'm in Springfield, Missouri. I work for Bass Pro Shops. I'll kind of get into my story on how I made it to Springfield. But I've kind of been all over the country with where I grew up, school, different career path. So I can get into that. But I grew up in upstate New York in the Buffalo region there, went to school down in Savannah, Georgia, in an art college, and also played baseball out there. When I was in school, I had an internship at Cabela's in the web department there. So as a junior, I went out to Sidney, Nebraska, where it was a little bit of a culture shock out there. It's just desert, right? And took that internship with Cabela's, really liked it out there, fell in love with it. And at that time, I had no idea about upland hunting. I didn't even know it was a summertime, so you didn't even really see that many pheasants out there. Didn't even cross my mind any of that. And growing up too, I never had dogs. We just never had them in the family. But it wasn't until I graduated college. So left that I had the internship ended, graduated in 2008, struggled getting back in with Cabela's just with the economy. So, I took a job down the road from Sidney, Nebraska in Cheyenne, Wyoming with a company called Sierra Trading Post.
Okay. I've heard of them.
Yeah. They were an outdoor company at the time, privately owned. And they dealt with like closeout, higher end outdoor brands, but closeouts and things like that. And that's really where it kind of started. And so at Sierra Trading Post, if you have a lot of German short hair people on your podcast, they may know the name Keith Richardson. He was the owner of Sierra Trading Post in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And Keith was he's a great guy. He does so much for the short hair community, for the trial community. And every day going into work, he would have short hairs running through the building, right? Working at your desk.
That's a cool place to work. Well, hey, real quick, what was his name again? Keith
Richardson. Yeah, he was the owner. Yep. But very heavily involved in trials, both AKC and NAVDA. And dogs would be running all over the place. And I was like, again, I was still like, what is going on? I don't know anything about bird hunting. And then as I was working for Sierra Trading Post, I also had a roommate. His dad was in the trials. His name is Kevin Wade. Not, he's more of a club guy, local guy in Denver there, but you might come across him, Will, someday. And this guy, he is one of the greatest out there in the trial world. Wow. So smart, willing to work with you. He's an unbelievable handler. If you ever in an area where Kevin's around, make sure you stop, introduce yourself, and follow him, because you're going to learn a lot as well.
Yeah.
So I was his son's roommate. So all this stuff is starting to happen with these dogs at work, and I'm understanding the trial game a little bit. And one day I just, got the courage to go into Keith's office. I had a lower end job at Sierra Trading Post at the time. It's kind of entry level, and he was in the big corner office with his dogs and big dog gate around, at his door. And I just went in there one day and I said, I'm interested in getting a dog. I was recently married. My wife wanted a dog. I didn't want just a little ankle biter type of dog. I wanted a dog that would work, right?
Yeah.
Earn its keep. So, worked up the courage, went to Keith's office, talked dogs for an hour and a half. And at the end of it, I go, Keith, I didn't tell you this, but I'm kind of interested in getting a Brittany, and he just
because he's a big short hair guy. That's right.
Yeah, short hair guy. So he kind of laughed and he goes, the guy you got to contact is Jeff Hoskins out of our Parker there. So
Okay.
That's kind of how it all started. I called Jeff. Hey, do you have a litter at the time? And he's like, really? I really don't have a litter happening. And he thought about it. He called me back like an hour later. He's like, yeah, I do know of a very good litter in Kansas. So picked up my first dog in Kansas, drove across the state there out of a really good line. He talks, out of that 6'0" free boy, his boomer dog. And then Matt Kitchen had a dog named Lady that was a field champion as well. So got a dog. So that's kind of how it started. And that dog is 9 years old now. So that was 9 years ago.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. What, let's unpack that just a little bit. We can dive into a little bit more, but what, so you kind of knew when you're talking to Keith at that point, you kind of already knew you wanted a Brittany. What was kind of leading you towards that?
I didn't know what I was doing. And right. And I'm going to come out and say right now,
None of us do.
I've been in this for 9 years and I still don't know what I'm doing. Right.
That makes me feel a lot better.
Every single trial, every single training session I go to, I'm learning. Right. So I do not want to come across as somebody that is teaching and, I'm just kind of giving my input here. Right. But I'm certainly not one that knows a lot in this world, even though I've been in it for 9 years. I didn't have a lot of property in Cheyenne. I wanted a smaller dog. I think my wife kind of wanted that dog that could climb up in bed, and I could have went with a smaller short hair, I'm sure. Right. It could have been the same thing, but there's something about, I don't know. I just, there was something about the Brittany. I never even been around them either. It's not like, I've been around that dog versus that dog. We just decided to go with a smaller frame dog. And Brittany's probably are a little bit smaller framed than a short hair or a
definitely.
We just kind of went that route,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you probably know this, but I think you made a great choice on the Brittany. Yeah,
they're a great breed, man. They're just all around.
They're really fun. So what came first? So you got your first dog, you kind of started down this path. Did you just know in your head you wanted to jump into the trial side of things? Did you know you wanted to do both hunting and trials, or what did you start with?
At the time I was in Cheyenne, I was hunting just a little bit at that time. Cabela's was not even in my mind at that point in Sidney, Nebraska. So I was hunting just a little bit. It was more of it's bad to say, but it's more of a pet type of a deal back then, I think.
Sure.
But knowing that, hey, Jeff, or Matt, I am going to be going to trials. I am going to be learning. I am going to be hunting this dog. Right. So, they treated me well for sure. At that point, I was a little intimidated with the trials. I went to a few. I entered my dog in a couple. I think 2 or 3 of them got snowed out in Colorado there.
Oh, geez.
And then it got to like, okay, I'm a little intimidated. I'm going to a few, but I'm not running. Oh, a couple got snowed out. Oh, and now he's 2 years old. And it's like, okay, now this is a totally different ball game.
Like, you missed because you missed all the puppy and the Derby stakes, right?
Yeah, it's the puppy and the Derby. Now I have to have a broke dog. And it's like, whoa,
how the heck do I do that?
Now I'm completely overwhelmed with this whole deal. Right. So at that time, I was moving to Sidney, Nebraska. I transitioned from Sierra Trading Post to back to Cabela's. I received a great job as being the manager of outdoor ventures, or marketing manager of Cabela's Outdoor Ventures, going on a lot of hunting and fishing trips all over the world. And the marketing was a great gig. But now I'm in the heart of pheasant country. Really good pheasant country out there in Western Nebraska. So that dog turned into certainly my hunting dog. Hunt, 4 or 5 times a week, even if it was over my lunch break.
There you go.
And we shot a lot of birds. I never did go through the full breaking process with that dog. I liked the way he handled with those wild birds, with not going through the full breaking process. If that makes sense. Sure. There were so many birds in that country at times. I just wanted to, I worked that dog and I handled that dog the way I wanted it. And it worked out great. We shot a lot of pheasants.
And I was going to say, you primarily pheasant dog, right? You weren't doing much other species at that time?
Grouse and pheasant was what it was in that region. But didn't really have a need to travel, or didn't really have a desire to go after a bunch of different species of quail or anything like that. So
sure. Okay. So what, so talk about, so you had that first dog, and then, so what kind of led you to, cause you have hatch. So you just have you have hatch in your first one?
My first dog is Trico. Yep. So I go off of fly fishing terms. Trico is a fly fishing pattern. I was big in the fly fishing out west as well. So
nice.
For Trico, his name is Snixos, booming on the high plains. But again, never really a trial dog for me, just a really good hunting dog. I think he would have been great. His sister is an unbelievable trial dog. Her name's BB. MK's My Little Ammo, and is just tearing it up, and did an awesome job this past year as well. So I really do think that he could have been a really good shooting dog, or potentially an all-age dog, probably more a shooting dog, but he had everything as well. Again, cool. Just a little intimidated with it. And then, 4 or 5 years goes by. I'm a big believer in spacing out dogs properly too. If you're not going to have a ton of dogs, you really have to space them out, right?
Yeah.
I feel it makes sense to do that. So now my dog is 4 or 5 at that time. And now I'm getting to that age where if I'm going to get a second dog, this is the time to do it.
Sure.
And worked with Jeff again. He had a litter coming up with, his dog Spanx Hank, which he was a very popular dog. If you follow the Brittany world, you know about Spanx Hank. Got a dog from him, and then another dog that was from back east. That he bred too. So, out of Choctaw's Diamond, things like that. So that's where I got Patch from. And you make that promise, right? And to Jeff, well, you're going to have to run him in at least one trial, is what he says. And then you do it. Right. And the problem is, and it's not a problem, it's a very, very good problem. But the problem is you end up in that trial, and he played. So I ended up hatching a trial. I don't know, 7, 8 months old or whatever. He places, and it's like, oh crap! Here we go. Did
that kind of ignite something in you? Where you're like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Well, it ignited. Yeah, I knew that I had a good dog at that point. I knew that I was going to be in it for the long haul because I owe it to that dog. I knew I was going to have a lot of fun doing it. I knew I was going to have my banking account shrinking a little bit too. At that point, you start making those decisions when they're placing and they're doing well, that, this is serious and you owe it to the dog. And I felt I owed it to this dog. So I worked that dog through the juvenile stakes, puppy and derby, and we got the points. We got our puppy and derby points. And then I knew, okay, well, I got these points. We got to keep going now. So, ended up, and this is kind of funny. Jeff has a good buddy, who's a dog pro, Bob, Burchett, with Burchett Gun Dogs, or Burchett. He goes, you might want to look into Bob to breaking your dog, because now we're at the 2-year mark where you have to break your dog, right? To be steady to wing and shot in AKC field trials. So I call up Bob, and I drive my dog all the way to Springfield, Missouri, to leave with Bob. At that point, I had no idea that I would end up in Springfield, Missouri
Oh yeah, because you're still in Sydney at this point, right?
At this point, I'm still in Sydney, Nebraska, working for Cabela's. Now, if anybody was following that a few years ago,
I was gonna ask you about that.
Yeah, Cabela's went through that merger with Bass Pro Shops, right?
Sure.
Where Bass Pro bought Cabela's. At that time, I didn't even know any of that was happening. It was not a definite. And I just sent my dog to arguably the best dog trainer for Brittany's in the country. And I ended up there 6 months later, living 20 minutes away from him. Right. So like, what are the odds? And
that's wild.
So that's where I'm at today. So about, that hatch dog, my hatch dog, his name is Snick's Nose, Hanks Hatch. He's been with Bob and on the circuit and doing all that. And, he's come a long way, and he's doing a really nice job. So
that's awesome. Couple big questions I have for you. I kind of want to unpack a little bit more out of what you were just talking about. First, I want to back up a little bit. So you mentioned you ran hatch in this kind of first couple of trials. He started placing, and you're kind of like, oh, I got a really good dog here. I want to play devil's advocate, because there's some people I will talk to that, and again, I'm on more of like, I like trials. I like that game. Now I'm getting that bug because I think it allows you to test and see your dog. But the other side of people I hear is they say, oh, I just want a meat dog, and trials, it's just pigeons. So you can't really tell a lot. What are your thoughts around like the benefits of trials and getting to see how your dog works and places and stacks up? Like what are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for me at that point, trials were just an extension of the hunting season, right? So hunting season's over, but hey, guess what? Every weekend I can go to a trial and still hunt my dog, and it's fun. It's a great environment. And that is what it was, an extension of the hunting season. That philosophy completely changed as I moved to Springfield, right? So Sydney, Nebraska, hunting every day before work, at lunch. Certainly hunting was his priority. Down here, not a lot of hunting opportunities. I mean, there's some quail, but it's not really worth going after.
Sure.
So now it is that training, trials, where my mind frame is kind of shifted towards that.
Sure.
That answers the question.
Yeah, kind of. What do you, just to kind of take it a step further? So like with trials, like what is that you see in it that, okay, I guess the competitive side of it, like you see how you're like, there's good dogs and there's dogs that are okay. Like, are you starting to see that difference where you can see dogs that stand out? And does that transition well to good hunting dogs as well?
Yeah. So yes, there are dogs that stand out in the hunting or the trial world for sure. Names. When I was just getting into the belt stakes, I look at the bracing sheets, and it's like GFC, FC, AFC. And it's just like, you look at all these titles of these field champions, and it's like, oh, how am I ever going to get there when I'm competing against these guys? Right.
Sure.
But with that being said, it's all about the timing too, right? Those dogs start to slow down, transition out. The younger dogs start to come in, and then the 3, 4, 5-year-old, seem to shine a lot of times, right? At that. With that being said, there was a lot of really nice older dogs this year that have done extremely well. But yes, it seems like every trial you go to, there's 40 dogs in it. Those 10 are the ones you're really watching, as others are learning and some are transitioning out.
Yeah.
Now, with your part with the hunting side of it, transitioning into.
Yeah, I guess just to clarify. So yeah, exactly. I think I know where you're going, but so dogs that are the exceptional ones that you see in the trial side, are they also exceptional in the hunting field? I guess that's where I'm getting.
That's a great. So the answer to that is a lot of times they are, I feel. A lot of times, most times, these dogs know the difference between your handler being on a horse with a blank pistol on his hip versus a handler being on the ground with a shotgun in his hand. Most dogs will see that, understand that, know that you're not moving at a faster clip like a horse would, and they do shorten up, right? So you get these bigger running all age dogs, and you are able to handle them for the most part in the hunting field as well.
Sure. Yeah, 'cause that's something I hear once in a while is someone will say, "Oh, you have this big running dog," and some guys will be like, "Oh, they could never be a good, bird dog, hunting." But it's like I've heard Jeff say kind of what you're saying is all of his dogs. He's seen a lot of the really good ones, the smart ones, figure out how to transition well between the two.
Yep, do.
That's really cool.
It's really cool to see too. You blow that whistle, and you're on the horseback. That dog just takes off. You shut that car door, that dog,
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see.
It's those cues. You touched on this a little bit ago, but just when you were kind of first getting into the trial game, I think you might've used the word intimidated a little bit when you were getting into it. Talk about that a little bit, because that's definitely something I have felt. Gage is almost 4 now. And, I've been invited to some trials just to come watch or check them out. I've even been a little intimidated, going into it. Now this year has kind of changed for me where I'm getting more comfortable. I went to an AKC hunt test, so I have a taste of it, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that want to try a trial or want to go see one. Just talk about that intimidation that you kind of felt, and how'd you overcome that?
I'm really glad you asked that question, because if I was going to do it over, I would have done it completely different. Or if I knew what I know now, I would have done it different. The Brittany community, I have found, is so welcoming and wanting to help the newcomers 100%. I've been to a lot of trials. I've been to a lot of different, I've seen how different clubs are being run. I was a part of the Skyline Brittany Club in Colorado, and they it's like open arms, right? They welcome, and the thing is, we need to be doing that too, just because of the lack of youth in the trials, right? So, but for the most part, the Brittany community is an amazing community. So much so that Skyline Club, I consider it like family. It was that welcoming, and if I knew that, it would. So what? I enter my dog, and what's going to happen? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Like you're going to pick up your dog, or he's not going to get around, or whatever, right? But there is absolutely nothing to be intimidated about. But I can see, and I was, right, when you stroll up and you see these strings of 20, 30 dogs, and you see these, $200,000 horse trailers, and it's like they had to start somewhere too, right?
Sure.
And I have every reason to be here with my one dog than they do as well. They're no different. And guess what? Those guys and ladies are the nicest people in the world, and they will help you out as well. So yeah. So if anybody's even thinking about it, go to a trial. Don't even enter your dog. Just go to a trial and just wait. Like, for the most part, again, wait to see how, welcome you feel at these things, and how much fun you have. And
my family and I just took all the kids last Saturday to the Brittany Fun Day through the Skyline Club, and super nice. Like, that was the first time the whole family came, and kids were running around and seeing dogs. And agree. The more I invest and just go to those kind of things, the more same deal. My level of comfort and the acceptance, and it's like, oh, these people are amazing. Why didn't I do this when Gage was a puppy?
Yeah. It's like I said, they're like family, and I've been out here for 4 years now, but I still talk to. There's a number of people in that club I still talk to on a bi-weekly, monthly basis, whatever it is, weekly basis, and talk dogs, and it's just great.
Why do you think you referenced kind of like this trial game is getting older and not getting younger? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, it's certainly an older person's game. I feel when I was by far the youngest at nationals the last couple of years in Boonville. I think it has a few things. It is a little bit pricey more expensive
Sure.
sport, right? To a degree, there are ways where you can still, but $50 entry fees, you may have to rent a horse type of thing. So
Sure.
it's a little bit pricier. I think it takes a little bit of time. Like a lot of youth probably aren't wanting to spend the time it takes to train a trial dog and do it right. I think there's a lot of distractions in this world right now with sports and, different things happening, activities. I think that, it's just, I think there's opportunities to communicate like what you're doing today and how fun these trials are and how great they are. But also, I'm in the outdoor industry, like I said, working for Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, and there's this movement out there called the R3 movement. And it stands for, let's see if I get this right. Recruiting, reactivation, and retention, somewhere in that order.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
And we talk about it here as well, not just, obviously it's for the outdoor industry as a whole, but we feel that recruiting is the number one way to get people involved in the outdoors. Right. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to get people to recruit, get people involved in the Brittany world, just like Jeff does, right? Like how many people has he's taken under his wing? And there's a lot of people that do take people under their wing too, but I think there's more that could happen.
And when you say recruiting, because there might be some people out there that think, oh, I don't want to be recruited for something, but I think you and I are kind of thinking, giving them an experience, whether that might be inviting them to a trial, letting them experience it, inviting them on a hunt, letting them experience it. At least in my mind, that's kind of how I view as recruiting, and let the experience of the hunt and the beauty of where you're at kind of do the recruiting, right? Yeah.
The word we use is mentoring, right? So taking somebody under the wing and taking them with you is, you're a newbie, right? But you're not too, you can start taking people underneath your wing, right? And just try to do that.
Exactly.
If we all just took one person to a trial this year that's new, you know how much bigger the trial it would grow, in a couple of years. Right. So if it would double, obviously, every year. So there's certainly opportunities, and that is something that, there's a website, you can look into that R3 movement and you might get some ideas on how to get some more people.
Definitely. I want to get back to a couple more things with trials, but you might be asking, what do you do for Bass Pro currently?
So, through my career, I've been in the art side of the business, the marketing side of the business. So I've been an art director at Sierra Trading Post. I worked with their video department there as well. At Cabela's, I was that marketing manager for Outdoor Ventures, which was a great opportunity. From there, I was the brand manager for Cabela's. So if you're familiar with the brand, you may have seen campaigns like It's in Your Nature campaign. There was TV commercial and all the signage and things like that. So I was managing brand campaigns from the marketing creative side, working with larger agencies. And then I'm doing something similar here at Bass Pro Shops. Cabela's there with one brand. Here at Bass Pro, we have 20, 30 different brands. So managing all house brands and how we communicate to the customer. So.
That's awesome. I got to ask, I'm going to put you on the spot. Is there any future plans for more Upland inspired things with Cabela's or Bass Pro, or is it big game and fishing kind of the big thing?
No, Upland is, Upland, it is a smaller category for us, but it's certainly a category that we're passionate about. I feel it's not going away by any means. There are markets that perform a lot better than others, obviously, so they might get a little bit more Upland love than others. But it's certainly not going away. We, there's a few newer products coming out at the Instinct line of products, the Cabela's Instinct line.
Okay.
Higher end Upland products coming out too to check out. But yeah, certainly not going away. I'm in the process of trying to line up some photography shoots and getting content and really pushing that Upland game a little bit more this fall.
Very cool. That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Hey, so what were you looking for? So after your first dog, you were looking to pick up your second. So that second go around, I'm always curious to ask people this, that second try, that second dog you're picking up, what did you know differently going into that experience? And like, what kind of questions were you asking in the kind of dog you wanted?
Yeah. Great question. So I knew that at that point, I knew I was going to get in the trials, right? It's kind of harder to get into trials. I feel people might debate me on this with a 4 or 5 year old dog. It's kind of harder to just jump into it. At that point, I knew that dog was going to be a hunting dog, and I did want to get a trial dog. I was ready for it. I knew what I was getting into, and I was ready for that. Now, some of the decisions you have to look at, obviously pedigrees, what dog is for you. Do you want an all age dog? Do you want a shooting dog? So that's kind of what I was looking at. And to be honest with you, I just relied on Jeff, a lot, with that Snixo line that he has to get me a good all around dog. And now it was a Hank dog. Hank is, he transitioned from a shooting dog to an all age dog. So didn't know quite, it could have went either way, right? I could have gotten a shooting dog or an all age dog. I feel out of Hank, and but more than likely, if we're going to pick out one of the number one or number two there, which Jeff gave me that opportunity to pick out, the top dog or the top male dog there. More likely it was going to be a bigger running all age dog, but you never know at 8 weeks, so
sure.
That was kind of it,
Yeah. And then I was also going to get, every time I talk to Jeff, he's like, have you heard about what Hatch has won recently? I'm like, no. He's like, he just went on a tear this year. He had a really big just string of wins. Why don't you talk a little bit about what did he accomplish this year?
Yeah. So Hatch, certain dogs I feel mature at different times, or the light bulb goes on at different times. Hatch may have been not, it may have taken him just a little bit longer, maybe 6 months longer than other dogs. Right. But I'll tell you, when that light bulb went on, it went on, and he just started, bang, bang, bang. It really started last fall. I was running Hatch both in all age and gun dog stakes.
And real quick, how old is Hatch currently?
He just turned 5. At that time, he was 4. So, 7 months ago or whatever it was, I was running kind of both things, and he had some placements. He had a runner up in a championship down in Michigan. He had a few other placements. At that point, I don't even know if he had any points though towards his adult stakes. He had some placements though, and some good placements. So he was knocking on the door. And then it started last fall. He had a couple of really nice runs, a couple of placements. He went to the Quail Classic, which is an all age, 45 dog stake, and he came in third, and put a really good performance on it. And that was right before Nationals. So he had a couple placements. He did really nice job in the Quail Classic, which is a really competitive all age stake down here at Grove Springs. And then he went into the Nationals. And so bear with me with this one. So went into Nationals. Bob was running him, my pro in all age, and the gun dog stakes down there. And he ran well, but just not enough to do anything. But I was feeling really good about his performance. I know Bob was feeling good about his performance too. He's had a couple bad breaks. Well, the day I was supposed to leave for National so I can run him in the amateur gun dog stake, I lost my sense of taste and smell.
Oh no.
The day I was leaving.
Oh.
And I said, oh boy, I better get this checked out, because,
yeah,
got to be safe. Older people down there don't want to do anything wrong. It's close quarters, stuff like that. So I go get checked, find a rapid test, and of course I got COVID.
Oh no.
So you got to be kidding me. This is the championship, this is Nationals,
yeah.
Right? Like, devastated. But what am I going to do? So I made a couple phone calls, and I was able to line up a handler for Hatch for my place. His name was Joe Drool, very good guy in the hunting breeding industry as well. It does both show and field trials. Unbelievable guy, great guy. I asked him if he could handle my dog, and he goes, "Yep, no problem at all." and I know Joe, fairly well from Bob and everything like that, but I never knew he'd never handled the dog in an hour steak before. I'm like, oh my. So Hatch ran the nationals, put one down, just did an awesome job. He called me all excited, and his wife texted me, Dawn. She goes, this might be a good time to tell you that he's never handled a dog in an hour-long steak before. And we were laughing. And then he ended up getting runner-up at nationals this last year.
Okay.
So what a huge accomplishment. Everybody's excited about it.
Yeah, it's huge.
And then it just started going from there, right? So, I mean, what did he win this year? He finished. So he might have had a point or two, but he finished within a week. I mean, it was just like, 30-minute win, all age, 30-minute gun dog, win. Then he ran in the Ed Powell, which is a really nice, prestigious, championship in Iowa, won that. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And then he goes out and wins the ABC Classic. And it's like, what the heck is going on?
So all just kind of just started to string together at that point.
So with no points, Hatch became a field champion and a grand field champion in 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy, unheard
of. So
right?
No, that's okay. Well, I'm not going to pretend like I know exactly what all that means, but I want to get into that a little bit. So explain the point system a little bit more. So you referenced like if they have enough points, like how does that system work as far as like gaining points that stay with their name, and like just explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So I'll do the best as I can. Again, been in this 9 years, still don't know everything, right? So if there's a certain amount of dogs that are entered into that stake and your dog wins, you get so many points, right? I think it's a little confusing between amateur and opens and things like that, but it's like, if there's 13 dogs or more, you will get, for a win, you get 2 points. If, I'm not even gonna get into the numbers. I don't know. But then, and then you have to win a major. So you do have to win, a larger stake. And then your dog, you have to get 10 points to become a field champion. Right. And then grand field champion, you have to have 2 hour-long wins after your dog is a field champion to become a grand field champion.
Okay.
And Hatch had 2 hour-long wins in like 5 days.
Okay. So backing up a tiny bit. So with the point thing, so a dog necessarily, do they only get points if they place first? Or can they still gain, say he was runner up in a stake, would he get just less points? And if you accumulate 10, then you become a field champion?
In amateur,
I'm just using rough numbers.
Again, I don't know. I got to go look at it because it is a little confusing. In the amateur stakes, you can get points for coming in second, runner up if there was over a certain amount of dogs, right? Okay. It actually in amateur stakes, it is like over 13 dogs. I think first place gets 2 or 3 points, and the amateur gets a point or 2 or something like that. So again, this is showing my
that's okay, because it is, and that might go back to one of the quote unquote intimidation factors. It is just a little confusing. I think being brand new, you have a new dog, you want to get into it. There's a lot of different terms, and so I interrupt your listening enjoyment for some technical difficulties. We had to pick up this conversation in 2 parts, and so second half is coming up here. Sorry if this transition is not great, but it's the best I could do. Enjoy. Pocket. So it's kind of interesting to see.
Well, it's really good to see though too, especially with that whole R3 thing I was talking about, with getting more people involved in the younger generation and things like that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Has Cabela's, are they pretty active in that R3 movement thing and trying to engage hunter, not just Upland, but hunters in general?
I know that there was some discussions back in the day. I'm not sure if to be honest with you, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't want to necessarily go there. I don't know the answer. I don't want to say anything.
Sure. They're like, Adam, what did you say?
Yeah. But I know it's a big movement in the outdoor industry for sure, and people are paying attention to it, and it falls right into place with field trials too.
Sure.
And it all comes down, like I said, to that mentoring, and that's how I got involved from a mentor.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer of surrounding myself with good people, and good things happen. And there's a lot of good people in the Brittany world. So a lot of good things happen. And that's it for me, and between, like I said, Keith and Kevin and Jeff, and then Bob, who is my pro, but also he's not just a pro. He is not just in it to make money. He has the best interests of the dogs and his clients too. So he's done a lot of teaching. And, I don't know if you're going to answer this question or ask this question later on or not, but I've been around some people now that I consider mentors that have taught me a lot. But the thing too is, out of these 4, 5, 6 people, some of their training could be is so far apart from each other and how they go about doing it. That is super interesting as well. So the more people you can surround yourself with, the good people you can surround yourself with, the more things you learn. And I think your training technique kind of comes into play too. I really like how that guy handles a dog, or I like how that guy, does his breaking process, or I like how that guy does, that. And I think you can come up with your own solutions too, but it's hilarious between, even Jeff that, and his good friend Bob, right? There are some things that are totally different, but yet they're both
trying to get the same result.
They're both extremely, they're both right.
Yeah. That's an interesting, that's an interesting thing. Just in the dog world in general, training and all that, someone told me this a while back, there are so many different ways, just for example, to break a dog. There's so many different ways to teach recall and there's so many different ways to get the same result. Maybe some are more effective than others, but they're also very similar too.
Correct. And you got to look at what's best for you, what's best for the dog, more importantly, what's best for the dog. You got to look at how much time you have versus other people, but ultimately, y'all get.
I think you said an important part there. You got to do also what's best for us as the handler and trainer, because if we don't understand it completely, it's not going to be effective, and it's going to probably cause more problems. And so I was kind of researching some different breaking process techniques. I was reading about different methods and all this. But until I saw, so Jeff's been working with me to get Gage broke, and until I saw it in hand or firsthand, then things started to click for me. I'm like, oh, that makes much more sense than reading it. And so sometimes seeing things or experiencing it for yourself a light bulb for me went off. And going, oh, that makes sense now. But he encourages me too. He's like, hey, there's this trainer 10 minutes from me. Go watch him work dogs. See how he does this, and just compare notes. And I think that's a sign of a good mentor.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ideas out there. And there's a lot of different, like you said, people do it so different. I wanted to jump in on one thing you said there. I can't think of what it was. Can't think of it. It'll come back.
It'll come back. Mentors are key. And I think getting into hunting or trial, whatever side it is, whatever kind of hunting it is too. I mean, anyone listening to this, whether they love big game or whatever it is, I think a mentor can play a huge part, because I didn't have that for quite a while. Maybe getting into hunting, I was super nervous. I still am to some degree in some things, because I'm not an expert. I am still learning, but I think it can kind of help shorten that learning curve for people.
Exactly. You just have to have the courage to ask, right? Go to a field trial and ask, and they are going to be more than willing to help you. I mean, I wish I just knew that. Right.
Yeah.
And, there's so many things that went through my brain. It's I don't know what I'm doing. Is my dog going to be good? Is it even compete? And it's you know what? Your dog is not going to be the worst dog there. It's going to compete. Yeah. You're going to learn, I just wish I would have went in.
And let's kind of boil it down. I mean, you're also there to have fun too, to be honest. Like you said in the beginning, you kind of started going down this route pretty heavy, just to extend your season and kind of, work with your dog more. And so it's about kind of having fun and enjoying it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And every dog has its day, right? It's just that saying. And I don't know how many trials I've been to where I was competing against some, national champions, Grand Field champions, right? And it's like, wow, the conditions were changed there. None of those dogs got around clean, or hey, it got pretty hot during the middle of the day. My dog runs first thing tomorrow morning, and you get these breaks and you find out, hey, I won that one. Probably shouldn't have. I just kind of caught a bad, a good break. So
yeah,
even though you might have a young dog or you're new to it, it's like,
yeah,
hey, your dog, like, man, I've seen it so many times, so.
I just thought of this actually while you're talking. I might make this kind of a standard question in the podcast when I'm talking to people, but what makes your dog special? What makes Hatch special? And give me some of his like best qualities that you really enjoy and really make him special. But what are maybe one or two things that he's kind of still maybe working on, or maybe some quirks that he has?
Yeah, I like that question too. And everybody has the best dog, right?
Oh, I mean, I have a best dog, no doubt.
Everybody has the best, right? So I guess the things that stand out with Hatch is that, every dog has positive traits and negative traits, and that all goes back into the breeding. And then when I'm going to, we're breeding this bitch back from Ohio right now, like looking at traits and things like that. So there's always pros and cons, but the thing with my dog is I see it as a pro. Some people see it as a con. My dog, Hatch, is huge. If anybody knows,
he is
Hatch. He is a very big Brittany, and I like that. I think it's a good thing. I think he's athletic. There's speed involved, so you got that speed from Hank for sure. He's got his athleticism from Hank for sure. He's got size from his mom's side there. So he's got the size and speed that I like in a trial dog.
Mm-hmm. And when you say big, you're talking about tall. He's a tall dog, right?
Yeah, he's tall. He's probably, I don't know, 55, 56 pounds tall. I don't know the measuring process
sure.
of the dogs. What, 20, I don't know. I'll be guessing 22, 23 inches, whatever. He's big, Brittany.
Sure.
By far, he's always, I always get a lot of comments on that.
I saw him up on a recent post you made, I think of kind of a spring post of what he won. And he's at the blue ribbon, you stacking him up, and he's just towering over the other two dogs. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, he is lengthy.
That's also a negative too. If people are, a lot of people are chasing the dual championships too. So that might be negative towards, individuals chasing the dual, which is very popular.
Okay.
The thing that Hatch is, Bob Burchett, my pro, does such a fabulous job at breaking dogs the right way. And the right way, what I'm trying to say is he's very patient with doing it. Hatch's personality is hilarious to me. He with Bob doing such a phenomenal job at breaking him, sometimes you see dogs get a little, they cower a little bit, or the breaking process is a little tough on him. That dog, even though, and it is a tough process sometimes on dogs going through the breaking process, but Bob does it such a good job that, Hatch loves that dude. He jumps up on him. It's like, you don't see that with every pro going through the breaking process too. So
that's a good point.
He's got a great personality. He leaves everything on the field. When I say that is when he's on the stakeout chain, he is the calmest dog there is. He just, he's extremely calm, which is a great trait for him. But aside from that, from a gun dog standpoint, like I said, fast, stylish, finds birds. He's running an all age right now. And a lot of times all age dogs, it's a different type of race, right? So you got the gun dog, shooting dog that, hit objectives, find birds, not saying they count birds, but you got to find a couple birds. All age dogs want to range, not find, you don't have to find as many birds. Well, I know that he's going to come up with one bird, at least in a half-hour stick. He always finds birds, which is a good, you don't see that all the time, but even in the heat of the day, he will dig one up. So that's good. He's very consistent. In the all age, sometimes you see dogs, they get lost, or there's some inconsistencies there. He's always been very consistent, stays out in front. He's going to find a bird. He's going to finish. Now, is it going to be the biggest running race? maybe not, depending on the day, but and that's why he's been winning, I think, is because I know he's going to get across the finish line, and I know he's going to have a bird. I know he's going to be stylish when he has that find. I know he's going to stay broke. Other dogs, like I said, that might have more titles and more experience. Well, guess what? They accidentally bumped a bird, or their brace mate did something that messed them up, or, hey, maybe they got lost, but that hatch is still, he's always crossed that finish line, so.
It's awesome.
But yeah, there's that. But there's some negatives too, right? Like I think he was a little late to mature.
Yeah, because you said you didn't really start until he was 4 then?
Well,
running trials pretty hard.
Yeah, so 2, at the age of 2, I had him with Bob. We ran him that fall. I think we got him around just a couple times clean. That's expected. And then next year he had a couple placements, but he really didn't get going. That light didn't turn on until he was 4. And there's other dogs that finish earlier than that. I'm not complaining by any means, my goodness, but I did think that he looked young for a little bit longer than other dogs look young.
Okay.
So, if that was going to find it, that could have been.
Yeah. Well, that gives me hope. Gage, he'll turn 4 in August, so that gives me some hope that it's not just a young dogs game.
Yeah.
Again, young's a relative term, but.
And like I said, I think some people quit underdogs a little early, but if they're not winning or doing that, and the light didn't really turn on for him until he was 4.
Sure.
So stick with it, and definitely the light switch could go. So
that's cool. Hey, as we've touched on this actually multiple times already. I wanted to ask you again. I know you're not the expert in this, but can you explain some of the field trial terms? We've talked about so derby, puppy, open stakes, gun dog, and amateur. Can you just briefly explain kind of some of those big terms that people might hear?
Sure. And to be honest, I'll do my best. Sometimes I get confused with these dates and
sure.
How many months and years and all that stuff too. But puppy will obviously be the first when you enter your dog in. You can enter them as, I wouldn't get them any earlier than 6 months, right? But sure. You can enter them as early as you want there. There is no blank pistols and there's no birds on the course typically. Okay. In the puppy stake. Now you're going to find horseback, you're going to find the walking, but no birds. And all you're looking for is that puppy drive. Is it thinking like a bird dog should think? Is it hitting objectives? Does it have some drive? Is it motivated to get out there and run hard? That's all they're looking for. Okay. Derby stakes, you can run these up until 2 years old. There are birds introduced, and the dog must point a bird in those stakes. Now, I'm not sure if that's the case for American Field. I think that's the case for AKC, right? So you have to have bird contact for the most part. Okay. So that, and then, same standards go there. Dog finds a bird, does not have to stay broke. You do have to shoot your blank pistol for it to count. But the dog certainly does not have to stay broke. Now, with that being said, there are people out there that think that it is best to have a broke dog in the Derby stakes.
Oh, really?
Because bad habits can happen when your dog is chasing that bird, could catch the bird,
sure.
Could take steps backwards. So there are people that think that your dog should be broke or very close to being broke to run in Derby. There are people that say, get in and get out, get in and win, and then
just be done with it.
Don't develop any bad habits in the Derby, Or there are people that say, more time on the ground is the best for my dog, and that's what I'm going to do. So sure. That's just a decision you'll have to make at that point.
Yeah. Okay.
If I know what your mentor is going to say, so So you will probably be getting in and getting out.
Yes. That's what he told me on the, I did an AKC hunt test. Never did one. I signed up for junior because I thought you had to go through all junior to get to senior. And I just did the one event, and I called him right after, like, hey, we passed. And I was all excited. He's like, that's great. Don't do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, yeah.
Get your points and get out.
Yeah.
That's in Derby. Then at the age of 2, you're going to go through the breaking process, and your dog, you'll know at that time, but your dog can run in either gun dog stakes, shooting dog stakes, right? Or it can run in all age, or it can run in both, right? My dog actually ran in both until he got it figured out. He was kind of a tweener, right? Okay. So gun dog stakes, the dog is going to be a shorter running dog. It's going to be more of a gun dog, bird dog. It's going to hit more objectives. It's going to most likely find more birds, and it's going to be a shorter running dog.
So gun dog stakes is walking? No,
that is just a shorter running, more bird finding type of dog.
Gotcha. So that can be on horseback then? Yeah,
absolutely. Okay. So there'll be gun dog, horseback, AKC horseback. There'll be walking trials you could go to.
Gotcha.
There are limited, gun dog limited stakes, which means you have to won a gun dog stake to be in the limited. It's just another stake that they can run in a So gun dog, yeah. So if your dog is a little bit shorter running, which I haven't seen Gage run out of Hank, it could go either way probably. It'll either be a gun dog or an all age dog. An all age dog now is a dog that runs huge, right? Okay. You put that dog on the ground, that dog is going to run 3, 4, 5, 6,000 yards, whatever it is out in front.
Okay.
You may not see it for the half an hour very much, right?
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. But you have to be able to handle your dog. You need to know where he's at. You do need to see glimpses of him. He can't get lost, but it's all about speed, power, range, and the all age stake.
Okay. How would you personally with Hatch, how would you transition him? Because you said he ran in both. So that more shorter working gun dog and then the all age. How do you kind of transition back and forth, or how would you develop him to bring him closer or further?
I think that there are some bigger running gun dogs out there, and I think there's some shorter running all age dogs. And he was kind of in that standpoint, I think, as he was maturing. As they get more confidence, as they understand it, then they start ranging further. And that's what happened. I mean, that's how I feel. That's what happened with Hatch. So, and then also I wanted to get him as much time on the ground as possible too, just to work out these kinks, because he was a little bit slower learner, like I said, and we ran him in both just to get him, but I also had a lot of braces where he might not have gotten around clean, or he had some hiccups, right? So more time on the ground definitely helps. And more time on the ground at these trial grounds too. They get more familiar with the grounds as well. So first year, 2 and 3 year old, I had them running in both. And then depending on the location of the trial grounds and how it was and how thick they are and how wide open they are, determine some of that as well. If the grounds are a little bit tighter, I would probably put them in just an all age, rather than a gun dog, because the gun dog courses would be on tighter courses. So, so that's
gotcha. That's awesome.
You kind of feel it out, but there'll be a time where it's like, half hour brace. I only seen that dog for 5 minutes. Yeah. He ain't a gun dog, and that ain't working anymore. And that's kind of where I'm at now with him. He's kind of transitioning out of that gun dog to that all age dog. Cause he's just getting more confidence. He's getting, he's ranging out more, he's getting more speed. He's understanding these courses now that we've run them a few times.
Are they able to use, so if he's ranging out that far, I mean, 500-600 yards, are they allowed to use GPS collars that just, so if he's on point, or is it just, you have to keep an eye on him?
No. So GPS collars, I strongly agree with putting on any trial dog, gun dog or shooting dog. However, the collar is turned on, but the receiver is turned off. The remote is turned off.
Unless you need it.
So when you go to the trial, a lot of times you put the GPS collar on your dog, and then you also put like a flash collar down on your dog to understand, my dog versus the other dog, because a lot of Brittany's look alike. And then at that time, you offer your GPS to the judge. The judge, most of the time they say, just hold on to a kid, turn it off. Don't look at it. Right.
Sure.
Or sometimes they'll take them, but you always want to offer it to the judge. That's at least what I do.
Sure.
And then if you get in a situation where you are running, your dog is running big, or you can't find them, or it's been, 10 minutes. A lot of times at that point you make the decision, or sometimes the judge will make the decision. Most times you make a decision that says, okay, let's pull that tracking collar.
Would you get docked points for that?
Yeah. Your dog is DQ'd. You're picked up.
Oh, if you don't know where your dog is and you have to make that call,
you are not allowed to look at your GPS collar at all in a trial.
Gotcha. Okay.
The only time you're looking at your GPS collar is if your dog is lost, and that's not a good thing.
You're done. Take the dog.
So, and I've been, like I said, Hatch has been pretty consistent, but I've been, I've had Jeff judging me where I had to pull my collar one time. That was really rare. A lot of times I don't have to resort to that.
Yeah.
I normally have I have very good scouts, that help me out, that don't lose him. He's a bigger dog, so it's easier not to lose him.
That helps.
And that he does check in, and he knows where I'm at. So, but there will be times, and the part that stinks though, is when you have to pull your GPS, your dog stay on their own point. It's like, I missed him. I'm doing everything right.
Sure. We
had this thing won, and say at 55 minutes of the hour, he's gone. You haven't seen him in 10 minutes or whatever, 12, 15 minutes, whatever. And you might even finish the hour, but you can't present him at the end. You have to present your dog to the judges at the end of the time.
So you'd have to pull it out regardless. And
then you can't present your dog. You have to pull it out and check to see where he's at, obviously. And if he's standing there 500 yards behind your point, it's heartbreaking when he hasn't won, so
that's brutal.
I've been there. It's tough, but that's the thing with trialing, And like I said, there's been some trials where my dog should not have won because of stuff like that. That might have happened to a national champion or whatever like that, but it's just luck,
Yeah, definitely. Have you? Oh, for sure. That plays a part into it for sure. Have you tried any other of the, I guess, competition arenas like NAVDA, NASTRA, anything like that? Or
I have not.
Okay.
I personally have not. I've heard good things. I probably should look into it, but I just really haven't.
Yeah. Well, sometimes too, when you're deep in one thing, it's hard to mentally, if you're going down that path, it's kind of hard to switch sometimes, but or dabble in both. That can be even harder.
Yeah. It's probably good for the dog to dabble in both, in my opinion. I know Keith Richardson did at Sierra Training Post with all the short hairs and everything. He did. So it's probably not a bad thing, So.
Yeah. So so we've talked about Bob quite a bit. So he's the trainer he's in Missouri, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he primarily a Brittany guy, or is he just training all sorts of dogs? And what's kind of his method of training? Is it Hickok's method, Smith method, something different?
So Bob's located in Conway, Missouri. He's primarily Brittany's, but he does have a few dogs in his kennel that people want to get fine-tuned that are not in the trials. When Bob goes to trials, it's Brittany's only, but that doesn't mean he won't take on another dog to fine-tune over the summer, right? For hunters. But 95% of the dogs in his kennels are Brittany's. His method, I don't know typically like who he follows or his method. It's probably just his own method, but he is an extremely patient dog handler, which is extremely important, I feel.
Sure.
So he's very patient. He works extremely hard. I mean, the days start at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, and they don't end until 9 o'clock at night. It's crazy how hard these guys work. Yeah. And the dogs do get a lot of time on the ground. And that is why he can be patient, because if the dog has a bad day, you know what, we're going to have this dog back out there 2 days from now, and he's going to try it again. Mm-hmm. Right. And it is patient repetition that makes his program so successful. Mm. That's really
that's huge. I mean, to have someone that, that's putting in hard work. I mean, that's huge, but also the patience level, I think is even more important. Cause like you said, every dog is going to have a bad day or two or three, and to have someone that can kind of work through that, be patient. I mean, all right, we're going to come back at it and give it another crack is huge.
Yep. And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is that every trainer, every person that breaks a dog is different, because sometimes people might not have as much time, or they just have the weekends, or they don't have access to, 200 acres or 10,000 acres or whatever it is, or they don't have access to, getting their hands on 500 quail or whatever. So it can be extremely different, right? The process, and it just works for Bob he's got the grounds 10 minutes from his house. He's got access to thousands of quail a year. He's in an environment where those quail can live and thrive. And it's just, he's got a good thing going with the patient repetition training now,
That's awesome.
It's where you have that. So.
Yeah. Did after Hatch kind of had his tear here the last, year or so, did you get a lot of, offers for litters?
I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, your dog's doing good, he's getting the phone start ringing, and it's not necessarily the case. Okay. Right? Yes, my phone has ring. I got a bitch right now that we're breeding into. Is it ringing every single week? No. Am I get 3 or 4 litters this year? Maybe. Type of deal.
You can be honest, Adam. Come on, it's okay.
Yeah. But I think there's dogs out there that are grand field champions that never been bred to, right? It's just, one male can breed every female out there.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully one day that he will be one of those dogs that people do want to breed to. But like I said, again, his size is kind of a negative with that. A lot of people want that dual championship, I feel, and he's got some size to him. So, gotcha. But again, like I said, with pedigrees and all that, like I'm not going to go into I know a lot about bloodlines and pedigrees and all that. I'm not going to, pretend I know, but there was the guy that's breeding Hatch now. He wanted some speed. He wanted some size into his line. So that's why he picked Hatch. So
yeah, that makes sense. Are you on kind of a dog every 4 or 5 years kind of trend right now?
I don't know what kind of trend I'm on right now, to be honest with you. I got yes, I'm probably going to say yes. I'm not going to the point. And with my life, how old am I? I don't even know, 35, 36 years old, whatever I am. I got 2 kids, 3 and a 1-year-old, I got, sports and work.
Life's busy. Yeah.
Life in general. Right. So, am I in the position to have 5, 10 dogs like others do right now? No. Am I in the position to have 1 dog and have fun on some weekend trials around here? Heck yeah.
That's a good point.
And am I in a position to send my dog out with Bob to do the trials I'm not able to go to, and for him to run him in all the opens? Yeah, I'm blessed to be in that position financially with 1.
Yeah. Right.
Dog. So that's how we kind of handle it for now. But I will get to 5, 4, 5, 6 trials a year to get my, and I still have to get his AFC, and hopefully we can do that this year. He's only 1 win away from that. So we'll get that done.
That's awesome, man. That's very cool. Well, Adam, we're going to kind of wrap up here. At the end of every episode, I go over kind of a rapid fire question section. So I'm just going to list off some questions and just give me your your short answer, and I always tell everyone, if you need to expand on anything, you can. There's no rules against it. So we'll go through these. When you are out hunting, this is a two-part question, actually. When you're out hunting, what gun are you carrying into the uplands?
It is a over and under that Beretta, was it Silver Pigeon, 12 gauge for pheasant. I would love to be able to downsize to a 20 gauge for quail for out here.
Do it.
I am not that good of a shot for pheasant specific, so if I could shoot a 10 gauge, I would.
There you go.
I'm not a very good shot, so I do shoot a 12 gauge at those pheasants. They're tough, but I should go down to a 20 gauge out here. I will probably this year. So.
Okay. Well, cool. I love my 20 gauge. I tell everyone this, my 12 gauge, I cannot hit crap. my 20 gauge, I'll hit anything. Well, not anything, but you know what I mean. Okay. Second part to this question. What do you have a blank pistol? What blank pistol are you carrying into the trials or training?
I should know this. I do have a blank pistol. It is a very good one. I cannot think of the name.
Okay. Is it a 22 or a 209?
Yeah, it's a 209.
Okay.
Blank pistol. Dogs Unlimited sells it. It's that, gosh.
I just ordered one too, and I can't even remember the name.
It's that very lightweight one, very compact.
Okay.
The structure of it is very small. They promote it. They sell it. They're great people over there at Dogs Unlimited.
Cool. Okay.
Whatever one that is.
Yeah. That's going to drive you nuts now. I know. I know the feeling. All right. Besides a Brittany, what's your second favorite dog breed?
Just because those short hairs got me into this, and this got me thinking, it would probably be the short hairs. I've hunted around them the most. They kind of got me thinking and involved with the trial. So I do owe it back to the short hairs. I've also done some pheasant hunting and of course duck hunting with some very talented labs too, but obviously not the pointing side of the breed that we're talking about. But that was such a basic question. You probably want some like fancy. No,
I think it's kind of interesting to see. Some guys go real fancy side, and some are just traditional. Give me a lab, give me a GSP, and so you'll make the GSP listeners very, very happy.
GSPs, there's some extremely talented setters out there too that you're going to see in Colorado at some of those trials as well, that are very, very good dogs as well. So,
did you ever do anything with the Colorado Gun Dog Association?
I did not.
When you were okay, I know you were in Nebraska, but it was kind of close-ish. But I haven't done anything with them yet. But okay, favorite bird species to hunt?
Oh, those cold mornings in Nebraska are hard to beat with those roosters. You can't beat a good pheasant hunt. I've been on some decent quail hunts. I've been on some really good grouse hunts, but that cackle of that rooster is tough to beat for me. So
that is a special feeling.
Yeah. And a lot of times the way I pheasant hunt too is I like to go on my own. I know a lot of people like to hunt in big groups, pheasant hunt, make sure they cover that whole field, have blockers and all that. Mm-hmm. Like there's nothing better than just me and the dog in a cold morning in Nebraska, watching that dog work and shooting a rooster. And it's not about numbers either. I don't it's like fly fishing too. Like you go out and you fly fish and you see one trout sipping on top, it's like, I'm going to catch that trout and I'm done. It's like same thing. If I have an awesome point to shoot rooster, it's like, all right, I'm good. I'm going to go home and watch football now the rest of the day.
There you go.
That was awesome.
There you go. Do you have a bucket list bird species that you want to harvest that you haven't yet?
I wouldn't mind shooting some huns. I wouldn't mind going, out west to shoot chuckers. I think there's some cool quail species down south that I wouldn't mind chasing. Yep. But those chuckers seem like a pretty unique bird that would be fun to.
That would be awesome.
Try to do, so
that would be pretty cool.
Kind of a basic answer there too.
That's all right. All right, these last two might get a little harder for you. Or actually, no, the last one should be easy. A field trial or a hunt? You got to pick one.
If I could have experienced nationals last year and not have COVID, I probably would have picked that experience that I was not able to make over a hunt. But I also know that a good hunt, and some of those hunts I've had in Nebraska pheasant hunting, were extremely tough to beat. So if I was gonna put, oh man, that's a tough question.
I know.
Let's just say I would take a unbelievable hunt. Let's go
All
there.
right. I like that you slid in unbelievable. I like that. Okay. Last easy one. I just have one more closing comment. Beverage of choice after a hunt or a trial.
There is, okay, so it's gonna be different after a hunt than after a trial.
Okay.
Nothing beats a cold beer on the back of a tailgate after a hunt. But after a trial, nothing beats sipping on a little whiskey around the fellas talking gun dogs there. So
there you go.
That's how that makes me sound like a drunk, but
no, you should hear some of the other answers.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing, just kind of leave our listeners with, again, this is kind of a both and question. You can answer one or both. Someone who's just getting into upland hunting, just getting into bird dogs or maybe trials. What's a piece of advice that you would give them as they're kind of just starting out? Maybe this season's maybe this season's their first one coming up. Maybe they just got a bird dog.
And you said both trials and hunting, or just trials?
I'm going to leave it open-ended. If you want to pick one or tackle both, up to you.
So I think the first thing is don't expect too much out of your dog. Don't put too much pressure on that dog. Don't expect too much. Keep it fun, right? Is the number one thing. I think a lot of people, expect so much out of that dog where it's just not fun for anybody. Like I said, my dog didn't really click until he was 4.5 years old. So don't expect too much. Going back to that conversation with trials, I consider that Skyline Club family, right? So don't be intimidated like I was. Jump right in. They are more than willing to help you out from the trial aspect of it as well. But that would be the main things, right? Is don't expect too much out of your dog. Let it happen naturally. It will happen eventually. Be patient. Patience is an extremely important word in the gun dog world, I feel. And let others help you out too, because I surrounded myself with some great people, and that's kind of how I got to where I'm at. I was thinking about the other day, it's like, my goodness, I got a dog, did all this, and now I have a runner-up national champion and a Grand Field champion, and it happened so quick. And it was because of everyone else. I had nothing to do with it, right? So
that's cool.
That's what it's all about. So
I love it, man. Well, Adam, thank you so very much for your time. I really loved chatting with you, getting to know you a little bit more, and just hearing more about your experience and both hunting, but also trials. And I really appreciate that.
Yep. Anytime you have questions or any of your listeners have questions, even though I said I've been in this 9 years, which is nothing. When you go to these trials, it's, you got the 40, 50-year-old guy, guys have been in 40, 50 years. But I am willing to help out anybody that needs help or questions answered, or, you need a resource or whatever. I'm here to help, and make sure you put my contact in the.
Yeah. What's the best ways for people to reach out to you if they have questions?
You can do it through Instagram there, or heck, I don't even care if you, let's do it through Instagram,
Okay. Is it Adam Freeman or Freeman Brits?
It's Freeman's Brits on Instagram.
I'll link it in the show notes.
You got it. And then Adam,
perfect.
Obviously on Facebook. I am on Facebook too.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much, and you have a great rest of your day.
You too, Will. See you, man.
Well, that is a wrap of episode 23 with Adam Freeman. Adam, thank you so much, brother. Love following your journey. Thank you so much for kind of unpacking field trial world and what that means and looks like and what it can look like for the future. I know I'm very excited to dip my toe in that even more this season coming up. But for right now, we got wild birds to chase. So, guys, let's get out there. If you're not fortunate enough to hunt with or own a Brittany, don't worry, because any bird dog is better than no bird dog. Go put some miles on those boots. Have fun.